If there's one thing almost everyone in America can agree on, it's this: rent is too high. Whether you're in a big city apartment, a suburban townhouse, or even just renting a tiny studio, it often feels like landlords are charging by the square inch. And while rent is tough everywhere, some states take it to a whole new level. These are the states where people regularly spend half their paycheck just to keep a roof over their heads, where renting a one-bedroom can cost more than a mortgage in other parts of the country, and where the words affordable housing feel more like a myth than a reality. The reasons vary: booming job markets, limited housing supply, coastal living, or just sheer demand. But the end result is the same. Renters in these states are constantly juggling bills, roommates, and side hustles just to make rent every month. And here's the kicker: many of these states are also the ones people dream about living in. Sunshine, big cities, beaches, culture. They've got it all. But the price of that lifestyle? Sky-high rent that can leave you wondering if the view is really worth it. So in this video, we're breaking down the 5 US states with the most expensive rent. We'll look at why rent is so high, how it compares to the national average, and what it's actually like to live there. From the glitz of California to the cramped apartments of New York, prepare to see just how brutal the rental market can get. And trust me, the number one state won't surprise you, but the actual rent prices might leave your jaw on the floor. If there's one state that's practically become the poster child for expensive rent, it's California. On the surface, it looks like paradise: endless sunshine, beaches, Hollywood, Silicon Valley, and those picture-perfect palm trees. But behind the Instagram filters lies one of the harshest realities for renters in America. Let's start with Los Angeles. Want a decent one-bedroom apartment? Get ready to fork over $2,500 or $3,000 a month, and that's before utilities or parking. San Francisco? Even worse. It's not unusual for renters to pay $3,500 to $4,000 for a one-bedroom, which is more than most people's entire monthly paycheck in other states. So why is California so pricey? A big part of it is demand. Everyone wants to live there. The weather is great, the culture is vibrant, and the job market, especially in tech and entertainment, is massive. But the housing supply hasn't kept up. Strict zoning laws, limited land, and high construction costs mean not enough new housing is being built. When demand is high and supply is low, rent skyrockets. Another factor? Wages. Yes, California has high-paying jobs, but the competition is brutal and the salaries don't always keep up with rent. So you end up with young professionals working 2 jobs, or groups of roommates cramming into apartments meant for one. In San Francisco, there are even stories of people renting living rooms or closets just to afford being near the city. Of course, California does deliver the lifestyle: beaches, nightlife, culture, and opportunities you can't get anywhere else. But the trade-off is brutal. For many, rent swallows up nearly half their income, leaving little room for savings. And while California is rough, it's not alone. The next state proves that when it comes to expensive rent, the East Coast can play just as hard, and in some cases, even harder. If California is rent nightmare number 1, then New York is its equally expensive twin. The Empire State, especially New York City, has some of the highest rental prices not just in America, but in the entire world. Let's start with Manhattan. A one-bedroom apartment here can easily hit $4,000 a month. And that's for something small, not some luxury penthouse with a skyline view. Even in Brooklyn, once known as the affordable alternative, average rents are now over $3,000. Queens, the Bronx, Staten Island, all climbing fast. Basically, there's no escape if you want to stay in the city. So why so expensive? Demand. New York is the cultural and financial capital of the U.S. People from all over the world flock here for jobs, education, and that NYC experience. But the supply of housing can't keep up. Add in strict building regulations, limited space, you can't exactly expand Manhattan. And landlords who know they can charge top dollar, and the result is sky-high rent. And it's not just the city. Upstate New York might be cheaper, but property taxes are notoriously high, so the trade-off isn't always as sweet as it sounds. Many people move upstate for affordability, only to find their budgets eaten up in other ways. What's wild is how normal high rent has become for New Yorkers. Sharing apartments with multiple roommates well into your 30s? Totally normal. Living in a studio so small your bed, desk, and dining table are all the same piece of furniture? Standard. But despite the cost, people stay. Why? Because New York offers energy, culture, and opportunities you can't find anywhere else. It's the classic love-hate relationship. The rent is unbearable, but the city keeps pulling people back. And if you think New York rent is bad, the next state shows that even small size doesn't mean small prices. In fact, it's home to some of the tiniest, priciest rental markets in the country. If there's one state that proves paradise isn't free, it's Hawaii. People dream about living here, like sipping coffee by the beach, surfing after work, watching sunsets that look like paintings. But the catch? Rent in Hawaii is so expensive it can snap you back to reality real quick. Let's look at the numbers. In Honolulu, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment hovers around $2,500 to $3,000 a month. And that's not some luxury ocean view condo, that's just an average place. Want a house with a bit of space? Be prepared to pay far more. So why is rent so high? The first reason is obvious: limited land. Hawaii is made up of islands, so there's only so much space to build. Combine that with strict zoning laws and environmental protections, and the supply of housing is extremely limited. Then there's the cost of living. Everything from building materials to groceries has to be shipped in from the mainland, which drives up prices across the board. And because demand to live here is always strong, from locals, military families, and newcomers chasing the island dream, landlords know they can charge top dollar. The result? Many locals struggle to afford housing. In fact, Hawaii has one of the highest rates of residents working multiple jobs just to cover rent and basic expenses. For outsiders moving in, it can be a rude awakening. Yes, the lifestyle is beautiful, but the financial stress can overshadow the view. Still, people make it work. Because for some, waking up to the sound of the ocean is worth every penny. Hawaii rent may be sky high, but the paradise tax is something many are still willing to pay. And if you thought island living was pricey, the next state shows that even the desert can drain your wallet when it comes to rent. When people think of Nevada, the first image that pops up is usually Las Vegas. Bright lights, casinos, and endless entertainment. And while it's true that Nevada doesn't have the same national reputation for high living costs as California or New York, renters here know the truth. It's getting expensive, fast. In Las Vegas, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment has climbed to around $1,500 to $800 a month. That may sound reasonable compared to San Francisco or Manhattan, but remember, this is the desert, not a coastal hotspot. A decade ago, Vegas was considered a budget-friendly city. Now, with population growth and a flood of people moving in from California, housing demand has outpaced supply, sending rents skyrocketing. And it's not just Vegas. Reno, once a sleepy little city known as the biggest little city in the world, has exploded in popularity thanks to its growing tech presence and proximity to California. Rents there are now rivaling some coastal cities, with averages pushing $1,800 and higher for modest apartments. So why is Nevada getting so pricey? A big part of it is migration. Californians and others looking for cheaper housing have been moving in droves, driving up competition for rentals. Add in limited housing construction and suddenly, the cheap desert living Nevada used to offer is disappearing. The trade-off? Nevada still has no state income tax, which helps a little. But for renters, that benefit doesn't always offset the rising monthly costs. Many locals who grew up in Nevada now complain they're being priced out of their own neighborhoods. So while Nevada isn't the most expensive state overall, it's climbing the charts fast, especially in urban centers. And the trend doesn't look like it's slowing down. But if you think desert rent is rough, just wait. The final state on our list combines sunshine, beaches, retirees, and millions of newcomers, all fighting for limited housing, which pushes rents into the stratosphere. Florida has long been known as the land of sunshine, retirees, and vacation homes. But in recent years, it's also become one of the most expensive rental markets in America. If you're thinking of moving here for the cheap living your grandparents bragged about, think again. Let's start with Miami. Rent for a one-bedroom apartment averages around $2,500 to $3,000 a month, and that's if you're lucky. In prime neighborhoods near the beach, prices can shoot past $4,000. Even cities like Orlando, Tampa, and Jacksonville, which used to be considered affordable, have seen massive rent hikes, with averages now in the $1,800 to $2,200 range. So what happened? Simple. Demand exploded. Florida became one of the fastest growing states in the country. Between retirees, families chasing warm weather, and remote workers fleeing pricier states like New York and California, everyone seemed to move to Florida at once. But the housing supply couldn't keep up, and landlords quickly realized they could charge premium prices. Then there's the tourism effect. With so many properties doubling as vacation rentals or Airbnbs, long-term renters are left fighting over fewer available apartments. That competition drives up costs even more. And don't forget insurance costs. Because Florida is hurricane prone, homeowners and landlords pay sky high insurance premiums, and those costs often get passed down to renters. To locals, the sudden surge feels overwhelming. Wages in many parts of Florida haven't risen nearly as fast as rent, leaving longtime residents struggling to keep up. For newcomers, it can be a rude awakening. Paradise comes with a hefty monthly bill. So yes, Florida has beaches, theme parks, nightlife, and sunshine all year long. But if you're renting, prepare to pay for the privilege. So there you have it. The 5 U.S. states with the most expensive rent. California makes you pay for sunshine and tech dreams with sky-high prices. New York drains wallets with cramped apartments and legendary demand. Hawaii charges a full-on paradise tax just for the privilege of living near the beach. Nevada's desert cities are climbing fast as newcomers pour in. And Florida's boom in population and tourism has pushed rents higher than ever before. What's wild is that these are also some of the most desirable states to live in. People dream about surfing in California, hustling in New York, relaxing in Hawaii, hitting the Vegas Strip, or basking in Florida sunshine. But those dreams come with monthly rent checks that can feel like ransom notes. The big takeaway? Expensive rent isn't just about luxury, it's about demand, limited housing supply, and the lifestyle people are willing to pay for. The more glamorous the state, the more you'll shell out just to keep a roof over your head. Of course, plenty of people make it work. They share apartments, move farther out, or take on roommates just to afford these places. And for some, the opportunities and experiences make the cost worth it. But for many others, expensive rent is the reason they pack up and head for cheaper states. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these states shocked you the most? Would you rather pay $4,000 for a Manhattan shoebox or $3,000 for a Miami beach view? Or maybe you'd skip them all and find something cheaper in the Midwest. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious which state you think is the hardest to afford. Because at the end of the day in America, your rent doesn't just buy you a home, it buys you the lifestyle and sometimes the pain that comes with it.